Okay, Stallion, we're talking about health, and fake wealth. Why do you think, though, that there are so many people out there that are not as financially healthy as they want to be?
And I'll tell you, I think there's a lot of potential uh, variations of this, but one of them, at least, is if we could apply this to the health side, everybody knows the components that it takes to be healthy, right? Diet and exercise, lose weight. I want to lose weight. Okay, what everybody, it's not like some unknown thing that it takes diet and exercise. But what is the difference between somebody knowing that and losing weight? Is the difference of taking information and actually applying it, actually being disciplined to follow through on it. That's why I think it's so important as we think about like the financial health of your world is that you need people around you to help make you accountable. You need at the very least a routine that you can follow, a system, something that will automate this for you so that you can look up and you don't have to do all the heavy lifting every single day without something else helping you out. That's how I think about what we do every day in terms of the passive income operating system is the implementation. That is the application of information that will get you to financial freedom.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it is definitely the difference of having a system. And the first point I'd love for us to talk a little bit about is we just sit here and, again, this is one of the last podcasts that you'll hear from us this year, and you're planning out your New Year's resolutions. Most of you do that. Are you setting goals for yourself? That's why we're having this conversation around health, but also connecting to the financial piece is what routines do we have in our life? What are we doing that is, maybe something unique, something that is helping us stay in a system? We need some sort of system to follow. If we don't have a system, it was the old saying that we don't rise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems.
If you've listened to our show for any length of time, you've heard us talk about infinite banking and how we were able to use that concept to create over $50,000 a month in passive income. But it's just not that easy to figure out how does this all connect into my own personal system.
Stallion, that's why we created the passive income operating system, bro. It shows you how to turn active income into passive income. It makes all the steps come together. If you would like to get access to it as a podcast listener, we've never given this away in public before. Go to what'swhatwallstreet.com/PIOS.
I want to know kind of for you, I'll start with you, Ernie. What is a routine? What's a system that you follow first for your health? And then you can maybe share one for your wealth as well.
Sure. Well, in terms of health, I like to major in the majors, make sure I get the big rocks right, or maybe more importantly, make sure I don't get the big rocks wrong. The saying about fitness is you're never really trying, the goal isn't ever to get in shape. You never really are, quote unquote, in shape. Really, the battle is to try not to get out of shape is what you're trying to do. So I'm trying to do the big things right, as maybe not do the big things wrong. So for me, that's eat, sleep, and lift. So I've made a priority of my sleep. Ever since I was really a kid, just really valued that, try to get at least 7 hours a night of sleep. I'm fortunate to be married to somebody who loves to eat healthily as well. One of the things that Caroline and I do is we take a supplement called Juice Plus that helps us just eat a huge, wide variety of fruits and vegetables in an encapsulated form. That gives us some good nutrition. I feel like that keeps us away from many supplements, as well as probably as many sicknesses, illnesses, because that just strengthens our bodies. And then I follow a workout plan, Russ, that you and I enjoy, and have a very convenient, not the best gym, but the most convenient gym to my house. It's less than 5 minutes from where I am right now. Try to get there 2 to 3 days a week. And I think that correlates well to the financial side, in that I try to do the big things right. And we did a podcast recently breaking down the passive income operating system. But if I can consistently be carving off monthly expenses and retaining my savings, I'm consistently automatically moving the amount of money that I'm saving each month into my infinite banking system, which positions me to have capital built and readily available to regularly be making investments out of that opportunity bucket. And so that's the big rock that I want to make sure that I consistently am getting right.
Hmm. How about for you, Eric? Talk a little bit about some of the routines that you have both on the health and the wealth side.
Yeah, so for me, I try really, really hard to think about the things that are important in my life and how to make them so they're enjoyable and not a drudgery. So for me, it would be absolutely impossible, Russ, for me to go running 5 days a week. I actually did that for 2 years, ran 2 miles every day, and I was promised by runners that there'll come a time when you get that runner's high and you're going to love it. There was not one day, not one time did I ever enjoy that. So if I'm going to get that cardiovascular exercise in, I'm going to have to find a way to do that I enjoy it. It turns out if you throw, I feel like, some sort of lab or golden retriever, I'm very similar. If you throw any sort of ball out in front of me, I just start chasing it with no thought for how far it's going, how far I've got to go, what I've got to do to get it. If I'm wearing a jersey, I'll do it till I suck the numbers off my jersey or pass out. Somebody has to tell me to go home. And so for me, that's a way that I can get that exercise in, get my blood pumping while enjoying what I'm doing. Now, the other benefit of that is I get some relational time with some people that are involved, and it's amazing. But additionally, Russ, I have to know my numbers. Is what I'm doing being effective? And so I do a 6 months, I do a blood panel every 6 months just to see and make sure that those numbers that I'm tracking, the liver enzymes, the kidneys, the sugar, the vitamin D, all those things that are important, that I'm keeping those in check. So it's what I'm doing effective. So I'm making it simple, making it something I can enjoy, avoiding something I don't like doing. And I did the same with my finances. I should be doing a budget every month. That's the very right way to manage money. But I realized that I couldn't do that. It was a drudgery. So my system is through automated budget. I automated that. So now in an automated way, without me having to do a budget every month, I'm watching my numbers, doing the big rock things like Ernie's talking about financially, but I'm doing them automatically in a way that I can enjoy and manage. And so I'm getting the results I want while the hard work is being done, but not necessarily by me every single month. So that's been an amazing revelation for me on both sides.
We're sitting here breaking down this idea of fake health and fake wealth. So the opposite of that would be real health and real wealth. And just listening to what you said, right? Like part of it is that you have to take ownership in the process. And also I heard that there's not a one size fits all. There were a bunch of people that enjoyed running and they told you that you were going to start enjoying it too. And that wasn't true. And you found a way, you knew that running was important and it would help you. And you found a way to do it differently, but you had to be a part of the process. And I think that's the problem with the fake wealth group out there is that they're not building a automated budget system into their life. They're not being in charge of their money. They're just saying, well, I'm just going to let it happen, right? Like I can't control it. I don't like to do it. I'm just going to let it happen or I'm going to abdicate it off to someone else. I know you guys were talking about 401ks. I'm just going to give that off to someone else. That'll be my routine. I'll just give them money every 2 weeks. I'll just sign up for it and I'll keep picking, whatever the best 3, 5, 10-year fund is. I'll just keep picking it and I'll be right more times than not. That'll be my involvement. And they look up in 10, 20, 30 years and they say, man, it didn't quite turn out the way I wanted to. Maybe my financial body doesn't look as good as I want it to look. Right. Or, man, I don't want to have to keep running this race. Like I every time I go out and run, go to work, right? Every time I go do that, I'm leaving behind people that I really would like to spend time with. I really wish that I could take this time I've been trading for money and find something that could work as hard as I've been working for it so I could do more things I like. Stallion, how about for you? Give me a little bit of a routine that's in your life, both financially and in your health side.
Well, I'll just first of all reiterate what you just said is, man, I spent a lot of years so one-sided on work that I didn't focus on health in any way, shape, or form. What I ate, what I did with like no moving my body in terms of like you said, lifting weights or running or cardio, anything. And man, I paid the price for that. Ended up getting an autoimmune disease in the process, ulcerative colitis. And man, you want to talk about a massive change, you're forced at that point. And so for me, it's been a complete, not just a diet change, because a diet is a short period of time that you're trying to get a short term result. A lifestyle change for me had to occur. And that includes having very specific supplements that are to help my body where it may be, deprived of certain minerals or vitamins or whatever. And I do that through I have a scan that I go through probably 3 to 4 times a year that informs what those supplements need to be. I do regular chiropractic work to make sure that my body is aligned and functioning. And I try to wake up at least an hour to an hour and a half before I need to be anywhere so that I can have some time with the Lord and really kind of center myself for the day on what I have going ahead. And as you know, I started working out last year, a couple days a week. So those are my routine items that have helped me to make a drastic change health wise. And thank the Lord. I mean, I believe He's healed me in many ways throughout that process. But just seeing major benefits of taking back control of that health component.
For those listening, though, from a financial perspective, talk about routine there. Like, I know that maybe a lot of people hear us talk every single month, but maybe they're new to the show. They're listening for the first time. Talk about some of the routines that you've implemented that might be able to give them insight of how to help themselves there.
I say, we set up the passive income operating system. Number one, that's the home base. And if you haven't done that, you have an opportunity. You've heard it on our show before, but go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/PIOS and learn the steps so that you can get this in place for yourself. Work with one of these coaches. They'll 100% get you on track for that. But that's the impetus of everything. And the second, and that's all automated, right? So the way the money flows through it on a month-to-month basis, every 2 weeks roughly, it is running without me. That's huge. The second thing, we review our passive income every month. You hear us do it, so you get to see it live, where most people have to do this, on their own. But I think that is a regular routine that helps us be critical about how are we doing? What's our scorecard look like this month? And I think that's been super valuable. And I think the last thing is just having so many at-bats, so many review times of different opportunities. And we don't do that on accident. Like, that doesn't just happen. We have to put ourselves in the way of hearing about opportunities, of educating ourselves as investors. And I think that's why I think, selfishly, you and I created the Passive Income Mastermind, because we're in the way of education on a 3 times a month basis. We're getting incredible insights, not to mention deals off to the side that are happening with those relationships that, man, without that, how many years would it take to get to the point where we are in terms of our investing acumen? It would be a dramatic time frame. So we just shortened that by putting ourselves around other like-minded investors.
Well, you mentioned that the mastermind. I mean, Nelson Nash, in his book, Becoming Your Own Banker, talked about being in a wealth club, right? Finding a routine, putting yourself in a routine of being around people. You've probably even heard the saying, you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right? Well, if the sum of the 5 people are not the most healthy, not the most wealthy, right, then how are you leveling up in those core areas, right? Maybe they're amazing family people. Maybe they're great spiritual influences. That's amazing, right? So maybe you need to find other people, though, to add to your circle if you're trying to grow those elements. How do you find a routine, and how do you make it a habit, right? How do you make sure that it happens every time? We have a good friend of us talked to talks a lot about, how do you take a habit and you combine it with something else? For instance, every one of us probably brush our teeth every single morning when we wake up. How do you
Most mornings, yeah. Most.
how do you combo? Okay, there's something that you're wanting to do, remembering to, make your protein shake. Okay, well, every time I go to, brush my teeth, I walk out from the, bathroom, I walk into the kitchen, I make my protein shake as a cohabit. Our friend says, hey, every time he stands in a line, he sends 3 gratitude texts to people. He finds a way to take a habit, something that he's already doing, and add something that he wants to do, so an improvement upon it. Because the hardest thing for us to do is to remember to do some of these things. Like for me, I look at, some of the data. You were talking about data a second, Eric. I want to move to data. It is looking at the data that, like a Whoop band tells you. This is one of the instruments I use that gives me information about what's going on in my life. But one of the things I'm looking for is, am I in an area where my body needs, to be regenerated, that needs to be restored, that maybe this is a day that I've strained myself prior and I need to be able to, level myself a little bit. I need to be able to go get into a hot tub is Joey's love language, or maybe it's go get a massage or whatever. Maybe it's in one of those areas where I need to really be able to stretch. I need to go out and run and hit, that zone 5. I need to be able to push myself because I'm in that position. Well, the same thing can be true in our finances, right? Do we know where we are? Are we stretching ourselves whenever we're at an opportunity when the markets are prime for it? Are we in a position? Have we put ourselves where our cash is in a position that we can access it so we can take advantage of deals? Like, are we stretching ourselves to learn more? Not necessarily stretching ourselves to where we're putting ourselves at risk, but are we risking our normal way of life and going out and learning something different? Maybe going and showing up to an investor group that you've not normally been a part of. Maybe you're learning a strategy from watching YouTube or listening to this podcast or whatever, and you're saying, hey, is that something I need to do? Do I need to invest in myself? Do I need to buy this course? What is the data that you're tracking to let you know that? Like, do you have your own personal profit and loss statement that's telling you how financially healthy you are right now? Right? Are you in a position where you're cash flush so you can start taking advantage of opportunities? That's some of the data I would think of. Ernie, what would be other data that you're tracking, both health and financially?
I like the Whoop band as well. It's been really helpful, especially these last couple of days as I'm going through this ear infection. Just seeing where's my body at. I've seen my recovery score go from a 15% recovery to a 30%. To today a 55, and hey, I'll take the improvement. My body's getting stronger. And so, but the things that I really am tracking on a consistent basis is my hours of sleep. And sometimes I like to look at the quality of that. How much of that time was I awake? What are the factors leading to that? And how do I spend more time when I'm in bed asleep? Another one is HRV. It's heart rate variability, which just tells me how strong is my central nervous system and therefore how sort of primed defensive is my body against sickness. I like to see that number high. And then I personally like to look at my resting heart rate because that tells me just how strong, how efficient is my heart working. And I am just drawn naturally to efficiency. And so I like to compete against myself and see my resting heart rate down in the 40s. I love to get there. So those are the data in terms of health that I like to track. And the cool thing about the Whoop band is it'll give you trends. You can go back over the month. You can go back 6 months, a year. You can look at prior years and see how you're doing against yourself over time. Financially speaking, I like to think about this concept of a financial dashboard. And you don't have to know a lot of numbers to be great, but you do need a few to be healthy. And so I like to track what is my cash flow, because probably I know each of you guys on the call and many listening as business owners and investors, income varies based upon how business is going and how investments are doing. And so I like to know how much money am I saving? What is my cash flow? And then what percentage of that cash flow is my infinite banking system built to handle? I like to keep track of that. The second thing is how much passive income do I need? So what are my monthly expenses and where's my passive income today so that I can see what in terms of percentage, how close I am to covering monthly expenses and passive income. The third is just having a bearing on what is my total cash reserve requirement. How much money do I need to keep back? And just feels good to know that I've got that money set aside for my family, for my businesses, for real estate, for taxes held in my insurance policy system, and see that I am meeting that cash reserve requirement. That's not ultimately what I'm trusting in, because I know anything can happen in this broken world, but it does just help me sort of check the boxes to keep momentum going forward. And the last number is, in how many years am I anticipating being financially free? And I can track that over time and see, am I making the steady, consistent movement towards accomplishing that goal, or am I lagging behind? So those are some financial metrics that I like to use and that I like to teach my clients in terms of a financial dashboard.
There was nothing worse than walking into class when you're in school and the teacher saying, "Pop quiz day." Why? Because you were unprepared. Are you unprepared, though, for financial freedom?
Don't be. Find out how close you are by taking our 30-second quiz at wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/quiz.
Eric, what other data are you tracking both financially and in your health?
Yeah, Ernie, what a great comprehensive answer he gave. So I'll not be redundant and try to pick a couple things that he didn't reference. So for me, some of the really simple things, daily, weight is an easy thing to measure for me, and something I want to constantly keep track on. Back to Ernie's point previous, it's less about getting in shape, is not getting out of shape. So making sure I keep that under a certain number. And blood pressure. So for my family history, I know that blood pressure is a problem for my people. So it's something I've got to keep track on. Here's another thing I do, and this is probably going to show my nerdiness. My receipts, if my dog gets shots, when I get my lab work done, I scan everything into the cloud, into folders on my computer that are held in the cloud, so that I can recall those at any time, even on my phone, wherever I am, anywhere in the world, if I need them. But additionally, it allows me to go, at this time 10 years ago, what did my health numbers look like? What were they 5 years ago? What were they a year ago? Am I staying as healthy a decade later, or am I healthier than I was a decade ago? And those are the kind of things with that information that I can go back and look and track. I should put all that into a spreadsheet. I haven't done that for my health yet, but I do have that and go look back at those from time to time. So what I do on the financial side that Ernie didn't mention, something I do, is every December 31st, I sit down and I list all of my assets and try to calculate net worth, regardless of where it's held. And I have a long spreadsheet of that just shows year after year after year, and it lists all the assets and the net worth total at the bottom, just so I can see if I'm making progress on that specific number. I know for us, net worth is not as big a deal as it is for some others necessarily, but we do like to own assets that create passive income. So that does factor into that. And those are some things that I track that I think are very important for me.
Stallion, what else would you talk about tracking, and is there something that we're missing out of this list?
I don't think what you guys have already said are important to me as well. The one that stands out to me, though, is on the sleep side. I always look at the quality of the sleep as it relates to the Whoop data that I track on the Whoop band. And for me, that's just like if that goes negative for too long, I'm going to start feeling the effects of that. And so
what do you mean negative? Like, give me some data. Like, what are you looking at, and how do you know if it's positive or negative?
Well, if you're familiar with the Whoop data, it tracks not only the number of hours that you were asleep, it also tracks how many of that were you awake. So it's still considered sleep, but there's a portion of it that's awake or light, and then there's deep and REM sleep. And those are the ones that you want, consistently to be over the 50% range of the amount of time that you're actually in the bed. And so I'm always just concerned with, okay, is that getting better? Is it staying roughly the same, or is it getting worse? And if it's getting worse, I want to try to remedy that in some way. And that may be being more consistent with the time of day that I go to bed and wake. Like there's certain rhythmic things that you can do. And there's even, in some cases, some different supplements or things that can help you sleep better, magnesium, for instance. So those are the kind of things that I want the quality of that sleep to be high.
Well, when we're talking about routine, right? One of the things that, again, I'm not an expert on sleep, but I've read a bunch about it and spent a lot of time with health coaches over the years. If you are trying to figure this out, you haven't done it, then we'll just give you the Cliff Notes version. Go get your own. I think just like, well, there's no one size fits all. You need to understand your own body, and it will operate differently than ours. But there's routines that you can look at that says, hey, if you follow the Whoop, as you mentioned, there's a worksheet. I don't know if you fill it out or journal, if you fill it out every single day, Joey. I do. And with it, like, it will actually give you data. It will tell you over time, okay, you actually have a positive increase in your metrics that you're tracking, HRV and sleep and other things, when you go to bed at X time, if you have a consistent bedtime. For some people, that doesn't impact them at all. Theirs may be a consistent wake time. For some people, it's a consistent whenever they see improvements when they have a higher strain over a period of time, or for some people when they have more restorative. So the beauty of it is that if you get in a routine of tracking it, kind of like what you were saying, Eric, you're tracking your numbers, you can see what's happening. If you don't know your numbers, it's hard to grow your numbers, as one of our former podcast guests would say. I think that's so true with both our financial and our health. We have to know the numbers. If you don't understand what your blood pressure is, you don't know what your sleep score is, you don't know what your HRV is, you don't even know what HRV is, you need to go Google it. Like, you got to keep up with these things that are helping you. And then there's all these little hacks and tips and ways that you can improve those, right? You mentioned a few of those things. For me, one of the things that I found is that when I sleep cooler, my core temperature is cooler at night, I actually go into a deeper sleep quicker. So what do? I did two things. I bought a cold plunge I put in it's in our bathroom, and I jump in a cold plunge probably 3 or 4 days a week. And I do that usually about 30 minutes before we go to sleep. Why? Because it reduces my core temperature, helps me fall into deeper sleep faster. For me, that's the thing that I realized that ended up working. Second thing, we bought a thing called the Chili Pad, or the Sleep Me Bed. For some people, it's the 8 Sleep. And it's a thing that I can actually turn my bed to a specific temperature. And so it's like a cooling pad that runs over the top of our mattress. And it's specific to my side. My wife has one. And I get to determine what the temperature of the bed is at different intervals in the night. And since doing that, my sleep has improved. This is part of, like, for me, that was like a little tip or a hack that I was able to improve my overall health numbers. And well, when you're a business owner, what I found is the best, way to grow your wealth is to grow your business. Well, if you don't have energy when you wake up, it's hard to be really good at that job. So if you're a business owner, focusing on your health is going to allow you to make a lot more money. How about for you, Ernie? What is something that either from accountability or a tip or something that you've been using that would help somebody on the call, both in health and wealth?
Yeah. Well, I think Eric said there's only so many things he can do in a day that he doesn't like to do. I love to stay healthy. It's been just a motivation of mine. It hasn't been a challenge. But one of the things that I've done to sort of keep me accountable or competitive in health is each summer I have signed up to participate, to compete in a summer ultimate frisbee league, and just because that's a really strong thing here in Birmingham, I found. In addition to that, there's a pickup soccer group that I know of that I can go play in on Saturday mornings, which I'll do on occasion. And so just by making myself obligated to a team to be in good shape, and then to go do something like play soccer where I'm constantly nervous about tearing my ACLs or ankle injuries, there's an incentive to keep everything strong and in the best possible conditions, so there's the least chance of risk of injury. And so just doing those things has made me stay on top of my game, if you will, on a cadence of time.
Eric, how about for you?
Well, as we're getting real here, I've never talked about addiction that I deal with. And so if I'm just being real with everybody here, I do have an addiction that I'm dealing with. It's pickleball. And so I don't need a ton of accountability to go get that cardiovascular exercise in, because I am completely addicted to that, which is one thing cool about doing something fun for your health. If you can find that thing to do something fun for your health, that you don't need super amount of accountability because you love doing it so much. There's somebody listening right now loves to cook. And so they could couple their love of cooking with cooking healthy for themselves or for their family with just a little bit of thought and enjoy that part of it. Some of you love the love languages. Quality time is a big love language for you. You love to spend quality time with people. Well, if you could couple that and get an accountability partner to walk every day. Walking is an amazing way to improve your health, low impact way to improve your health. And so those are just some great things that you can do on the health side to keep you accountable, but still have fun and enjoy doing it.
Stallion, how about for you, man?
And I'll tell you, you let off talking about how health and even like your financial freedom path are not built the same. Like each of us have a different makeup and different resources and different experiences. And for me, from a health perspective, I was never consistent at going to work out until I hired a trainer. And I'm sure people that see me at the gym think I must be the dumbest guy around, because here I am paying somebody to work out with me twice a week, and they're doing it on their own. But for me, it was a mindset shift of what am I willing to trade? Is it the dollars today for the ability to make sure that I was going to do it, or the dollars tomorrow for not having done it, and to your point, Ernie, becoming weaker and having to pay in some other way? Maybe it's missing out on part of life because, or spending time with my daughters. Like they're very active and they want to wrestle and they want to, chase me around and play monster tag at the playground with me. And if I've, pull a hammy, that's no bueno. I remember what motivated me to do this to begin with was we were going on a trip to the British Virgin Islands. And on the first leg of the trip, I put a suitcase above my seat and threw my back out. And I thought, I'm about to go to paradise for a week and be locked up. And gratefully, there was a chiropractor at the Atlanta airport that cracked me and put me back in the plane. But without that, I was done. I was toast. And I knew it was because I was not spending the time strengthening my body. And anyway, so I just say that for me, accountability cost actual money. But it's what has worked and made me consistent.
Well, the beauty of accountability, they say anything that you track will improve, right? And anything that you track and report on will improve exponentially. And I think accountability is huge. I have an accountability coach that I meet with twice a month, and I get daily reminders from her to be accountable to certain things. She will ask me questions in text. I've got guys that I show up at the gym with 4 days a week. But on this podcast, we have a monthly accountability to our numbers. We report on our passive income report. And that is something that has helped us be accountable. It's allowed us to grow those numbers over time. And I want to make sure that if you don't have accountability, you should join our community. And inside of that, there's 8,000 or 9,000 people who are willing to be that with you because they share stuff all the time in there. Go to what'saboutwallstreet.com/community and you can join for free. It's a community that's focused on helping people who want to become financially free get there faster. I think there's an opportunity for you in there to learn, but also to give when other people are trying their best to figure out how, to accomplish an objective. And, here's four knuckleheads talking about health today that, that we've all dealt with different levels of failure in our health, not only in our past, but in our present. And I think that, I was sitting here having a conversation a second ago with my coach about how I'm doing this 21-day, fast from sugar and everything. She goes, that's fine. I want you to go through this time. But when you're done with that, what I want you to do is don't do that ever again. And I was like, wait a second. I thought that would be a good thing, right? Like, wouldn't that be a good thing, Joey, to not do sugar? Added sugar is, adds inflammation to your body. It does all this negative things. And I thought, why would she say that? And she's like, to your point about, making a lifestyle, she said, no, I want you, after this is over, I want you to have a daily added sugar in your life. I want you to figure out what it's going to be and have it every single day. And you can switch up the thing. Now, but what I want you to do is not to feel like you have to go like overboard into that thing. Like, I want you to have just a little bit and feel good that you had it and move on. And so I think I'm trying to relate that into finance. Like, what is that thing in our life that, that maybe we have this guilty pleasure of like listening to a bunch of podcasts and we just go crazy, or we go, man, I've gone too crazy there. I got to give it all up. What's that thing for you? How do you create a regular routine in your life, a healthy routine, instead of, spending all of this money? Like, like right now, most of you are probably like, if you're in Christmas season, you're probably a lot more money going out than normal. And you're like, this is crazy. And then you're going to go the exact opposite maybe in January. I'm not going to spend anything. We're on a spending freeze. And you go crazy. Well, no, like find that balance. To Eric, to your point, you talked about the automated budget. Create the budget. Know what the numbers are. Build into your monthly budget the his and her freedom account, as I know your automated budget talks about. Have that guilty pleasure that you're going to have every single month. That's fine. Just don't go crazy. Don't eat 10 ice cream sandwiches like I probably did one day last week. Like just go a little bit once a day, right? Have your thing, have whatever that is, so that you can get on a routine. Because what if your routine was building passive income streams? What if you got addicted to building passive income streams and you became financially free so stinking fast that it gave you the opportunity to make decisions from that point forward of what you wanted to do versus what you had to do? And that's really the point of this podcast, to some degree, whether or not we bumbled it up or not. Stallion, Eric, Ernie, thank you so much for being open, sharing ideas. Thank you for listening, Tribe. If you found value, take time to rate and review the show. Share this on Instagram. Tag us. We'll create more. If we don't see the tag, we'll be like, never do that again, guys. That was stupid. Have a fantastic day.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand, so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.